Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres. Keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Joshua Finkleman on the line, and this is a very special reunion 2020 episode. So what is that? That's when I bring on guests that I had on in the past, and I couldn't get enough on the first conversation, so I brought them right back. Josh is the managing partner over at BXE Capital. Josh, welcome to the show.
Adam, thanks for having me back. It's great to chat with you again.
So obviously, crypto, blockchain, I mean, it's all very relevant topics and only getting hotter and hotter, in my opinion, as the years go on. So that's going to be our topic today. But before we get into that, let's get into what you're doing over at BXE Capital. Tell us a little bit more about the company, please.
Sure. So we launched the first digital asset investment fund in the state of Colorado back in kind of the summer of 2017. So we are an investment fund, and we're focused exclusively on investing in the 5,000 digital currencies that are out there right now, kind of trading across 400 plus digital exchanges around the world. So that's our focus. And it's been, the past couple of years have been really exciting for us.
Man, 5,000 already, and I think this is a great. I'm like, wow, when did that happen? I mean, I feel like I went to sleep, I woke up, and there were 5,000. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And that, I guess that leads us right into our topic. So let's go into it. So 2020, looking ahead for a exciting year in blockchain. Let's do it, Josh. So what's happening?
Yeah, so it's funny, you talk about the explosion of like over 5,000 digital currencies, and I think I use the analogy a lot. It's very similar to kind of the early days of the internet, right? And instead of the 5,000 different types of digital currencies, we saw kind of explosion in the 90s of all these websites, right? And the infrastructure kind of built out and around the internet to kind of support that globally, and that was a multi-decade event. Well, we're in the early stages of seeing that for these digital assets, right? Where we're seeing a lot of the planning being built out around the world to support this new technology and to support this new asset class. So we're seeing kind of a lot of growth, last year, and I believe we'll see a lot of growth this year in the infrastructure to build out that infrastructure to allow for, these digital assets to be traded around the world. And I think what we're starting to see is the beginning of, governments and regulators, shift their narrative from maybe being resistant to more being accepting of that. And I think what we're going to see, we've already seen just some legitimacy in this space this past year with the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, offering Bitcoin options trading and futures. The ICE, which is the Intercontinental Exchange, it's the largest exchange owner in the world. They own the New York Stock Exchange. They launched a digital exchange called BAT in September, and for offering Bitcoin options and futures. Fidelity is now offering custody of digital assets. We're seeing TD Ameritrade, eToro, Robinhood, Abra, SoFi. All of these large multinational companies are getting into this asset class, and they're offering different types of products, trading services and what have you. So I just think, we're seeing the early stages of that around the world. It's really exciting. And I think in 2020, we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see, Wall Street really come online. We're going to see, I believe, will the first central bank fiat currency become digital. So China last year in the fall came out, the president said, hey, we are working on launching the first central bank digital currency. So I expect that will come out at some point this year. And then I think you'll just see, kind of a steady stream of other central banks digitizing their currency. And so it's an exciting time. I think over the next couple of years, we're going to see, traditional physical currencies, right, cash, coins become digital. For the fact that you can open trade, you can settle, you can use these digital currencies a lot more efficiently than you can today's kind of traditional domestic or cross-border payments. So it's a very, very exciting time.
So, yeah, I definitely see a huge, like, as you mentioned, I just think it's a maturity in the industry. When I heard, SIBO, ICE, Fidelity, all the names that you mentioned, as I kind of follow this news, I'm like, what? I'm like, so we're there. This is happening at a really fast pace. I feel like if we're taking a real timeline, just to give people an idea of how quick this has happened. So think about how long it took some of these big institutions just to trade and settle foreign stock.
Sure.
Like that for actual countries. We're talking decades, right?
Yeah.
Like before they would custody it themselves, that is. I mean, we're talking decades and decades before they did this from probably like going to 50s, 60s, 70s. I mean, it took so much time to get to where we are now. And now when you look at something like this, it's not been that long if we think about it.
No, it really hasn't. The Bitcoin white paper came out in 2009. So really, and really for several years, Bitcoin was really the only digital asset out there, right? So it took a while for entrepreneurs and organizations to come out with, alternative forms of digital currency. So the space is really 11 years old. I mean, to your point,
wow.
It's just amazing how quickly, and we're seeing the adoption now start to grow exponentially. Right? Very similar to, when you look at the adoption numbers for the internet, number of websites, users, that growth curve was very steep up and to the right. We're seeing the same growth curves with digital assets, right? Number of wallet addresses, number of users, volume traded globally the growth is just exponential, and it's kind of a real steep growth curve up and to the right. So, I kind of put us in a similar time of like maybe the mid-90s for where the internet was, for where digital currencies are. So I just think you're going to see that momentum continue to grow and grow and grow.
Don't put us there, Josh. You know what happened after the mid-90s. Please don't put us there. I don't need, well, maybe it'll be, now that I'm no longer in that business, I'll be fine, but it'll make good content. More people will listen to my podcast, but just don't put us in the mid-90s.
Yeah, no, look, with the you're referring to the dot-com bubble of 2000, and it's interesting. We're seeing the growth in this space occur in a series of micro bubbles, right? Where we have kind of a wave of adoption that happened in 11 and then 13 and 17, where you just have this explosive growth, and it forms a bubble, and then that bubble pops and the whole market corrects, and then usually it'll trend flat for a couple of years until the next wave of adoption. So it's really interesting you make that analogy, because we see the adoption happen in a series of these micro bubbles. And every bubble, every wave of adoption, every bubble is bigger than the previous one. And so it's very interesting to see kind of how the adoption transpires in this space.
Anything interesting you're seeing from your vantage point in just utility of these digital currencies in general, just like the actual utilization of them?
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question. So we're seeing a lot of the adoption and growth and utility right now around utilizing this technology to move money around the world efficiently, right? So today, most people in the United States, they use a credit card, and what they don't realize is that technology is 6 years old, and it's very slow, and it's fraught with middlemen that take fees, right? And so when you use your credit card, that credit card with that merchant's not going to get their money for at least a day, sometimes 2 or 3 days. And they're going to typically pay 2, 3, 4% for that transaction. Well, conversely, if you use a fast settlement token, like say Ripple, that merchant will get their funds in a couple of seconds and pay a fraction of a penny. So the settlement aspect of moving value around the world is tremendous using this technology, distributed ledger technology. Same thing for cross-border payments. It's very cumbersome to send a wire, as you probably have seen, internationally, and it takes days and it's expensive. Well, using these digital currencies that leverage distributed ledger technology, you can move vast sums of money internationally and that'll settle in seconds for literally pennies. So that's where we're seeing a lot of the adoption and growth, right, is leveraging this technology to move value around the world. As well, we're seeing that growth in asset management, where, I mentioned there are over 5,000 cryptocurrencies that are traded around the world. So we're seeing it's no surprise then that Wall Street is moving in to support this new asset class. We're seeing just a lot of trading and volume around the world, and I think that's going to continue to pick up. And it's my view that every single stock, bond, treasury, derivative will eventually become digitized because of the scenario that I explained earlier, because of the efficiency aspect. You will be able to settle these trades almost instantaneous with very little middlemen, very little friction. So it's a paradigm shift in efficiency.
That's awesome. So, Josh, if somebody is listening to, now first off, I can talk to you about this all day, but that's the time for this show.
We'll have you back for third annual.
All day. Oh, no, we will. And we're already planning 2021. Maybe this time we will have it in Vegas to get the band back together. That's all.
Now you're talking
about. Get out of the studio, Josh. Tell Sherrod back to that. I need time out. No. So, that being said, for the audience, if somebody's listening and they want more information of BXE Capital or to learn more about what you're up to, what's the best way for them to reach out?
Sure. They can go to our website at www.bxecapital.com, or they can send an email to ir@bxecapital.com, and that goes into our investor relations department.
Awesome. Well, hey, Josh, really appreciate you coming back on the show for this reunion episode and giving us an update. And also to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. Hope you got a lot
Thanks
of value.
for having me, Adam.
Absolutely. If you did get a lot of value, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review, do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And thanks again, Josh.
Thanks, Adam.